Come and see, friends. It is written, rescue my soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog. Grant me salvation through the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorns. Psalms 22:21. All my bones shall say, Hashem Mikamoka, who is like thee? Psalms 35:10. Anyone who blemishes his brit is incapable of praying in the aspect called, all my bones will say. And when a person does not pray in the aspect of all my bones, then a dog descends and consumes his sacrifice, namely his prayer. But when he prays and tastes the sweetness in the words of prayer, then it is proper to say, all my bones will say. The only way for a person to taste the sweetness in prayer is by rectifying the blemish of the brit. This is because sweet waters correspond to the water of purity, namely holy seed, which comes from guarding the brit. Thus, when someone is in the aspect of sweet waters, his words are also sweet. When they leave his mouth and are heard by his ears, then it is as the sages said in Berakot 15a, let your ears hear what your mouth says. Then the sweetness of the water enters his bones in the aspect of good tidings fatten the bones. Proverbs 15:30. And when the bones sense the sweetness of the words, this is the aspect of all my bones will proclaim. And then a lion descends and consumes his sacrifice, because the bone is the aspect of lion, namely to the right side. However, someone who has blemished his brit is in the aspect of bitter waters, corresponding to, but they could not drink any water from Mara. Exodus 15:23. This corresponds to polluted waters and impure seed, and so he cannot pray in the aspect of, all my bones will say. Then the dog, which is the aspect of bitter waters, descends and barks, saying, give, give. He is the aspect of bitterness, which has two mouths, corresponding to a two-edged sword, namely the aspect of Gehenna, which has two daughters that shout, give, give. This is the secret of the disease known as Breconish. God save us, for this is what causes a person's bones to break. For this causes the deterioration of the bone marrow, corresponding to polluted waters. This disease is brought on by sexual desire. This is also what we were commanded regarding the Passover sacrifice. Do not break any of its bone, Exodus 12:46. As is written in the Zohar, with the bones they fulfilled, you shall throw it to the dogs, Exodus 22:30. And this was very upsetting to the Egyptians. This is so that each Jew should scrutinize himself to see if his brit is as it should be. For of the Passover sacrifice it is written, but no uncircumcised man may eat of it, because the Passover sacrifice mainly depends upon the mitzvah of circumcision, as is known. Thus, when they threw its bones to the dogs and saw that the dogs consumed them, they knew that the brit was not as it should be. This is what is found in the Zohar, do not be like a horse, like a senseless mule, Psalms 32:9. This all relates to impurity of the brit. The Zohar also brings the verse, the dogs are brazen, Isaiah 56:11. Therefore, a person who has blemished his brit should be wary of dogs and the sword. This is also the explanation of, rescue my life from the sword, my soul from the clutches of the dog, but grant me salvation through the lion's mouth. Psalms 22:22. That is, when a lion consumes my sacrifice, it brings me salvation. Hence, with regard to the sword and the dog, the word rescue appears, whereas with regard to the lion, the word salvation appears. Know too that the arrogant people of the generation, they are the dogs as in, and the dogs are brazen. They rise and take issue with the prayers of a Jew who has yet to completely rectify his brit. This is as our sages of blessed memory taught, Tanit 11b. When a rabbinical student sits in fasting, he deserves to have a dog consume his meal. For certainly a righteous person's eating is very precious, since it brings contentment to the holy soul, as it is written, Proverbs 13:25. A tzaddik eats to satisfy his soul, but because this rabbinical student starves his soul and knows not how to satisfy his holy soul, He deserves to have a dog consume his meal, for also of them it is written, they never know satisfaction. He too does not know how to bring contentment to his precious soul. This is why a dog is called a companion in Tractate, Rosh Hashanah 4a, because it appears as a result of a desire for cohabitation as explained, and it is particularly when a person fasts, though not required to, that he deserves to have a dog consume his meal, as it is written. Come from the forest, you wild animals, attack and gobble up your victims. You leaders of Israel should be watchdogs, protecting my people. But you can't see a thing, and you never warn them. Dozing and daydreaming are all you ever do. You stupid leaders are a pack of hungry and greedy dogs that never get enough. You are shepherds who mistreat your own sheep for selfish gain. Isaiah 56.